Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. Um, Today, I want to talk a little bit about trauma healing and my journey this week. I feel like I've had a rough week this week. Um, I feel like prior to this week, I was kind of finally getting to this situation and position where I felt like pretty good. Like, I was like, okay, I went through all these really painful trauma healing parts, kind of coming out of it and starting to really feel like I was taking control of my life, really growing, really learning. I felt like really like my life is all coming together. Everything is working out. Everything is flowing smoothly. Um, I felt so happy. I felt reconnected. I was reconnecting with my family. I felt not so closed off. I just I had so many positive good things coming and I just felt like peace for the first time in a long time, and it kind of was here for a while. And I think this week it hit me hard because after feeling how good it feels to come out of that darkness. So it's like when I was in the midst of my trauma healing, it was really dark. And then after you come out of that darkness, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so much better. And you're really like enjoying and appreciating the lightness. But then um, I'm finding the hard way with trauma healing. It's like it just keeps coming. Um, so yeah, this week was a little defeating, but also very eye-opening. I learned a lot, and I'm kind of going to talk about that just a little bit of what I learned. One of the biggest things that I learned is that healing occurs in like phases. Um, and I'm realizing why. It's like, especially if you have a lot of things you have to unravel. In my specific life situation, it was very complicated in the sense of like there was more than one person in my life who was abusive. There was more than one major trauma. There was like a lot of moving parts in my full journey, which I believe we all have, like most of us deal with struggles throughout our life. It's not like we have this one event in our life that was hard and the rest of it is just perfect. It's like all of us have different struggles at different times in our life, and they shape us in different ways. And what I'm realizing is we have to process them kind of differently. And also, it's like a layer. Like we have to process them one layer at a time. And the reasoning why is because if this was all just dumped on us and we had to just try to figure it out and learn it all and understand it all overnight, it would probably be extremely challenging and probably almost impossible, honestly, and very overwhelming. I couldn't imagine now, looking back, at dealing what I'm dealing with currently. At the same time, I was dealing with other things prior because they're both very painful, but in different ways. And what I am realizing is when you are living in a trauma response in the fight or flight mode, in self-protection mode, whatever you want to call it. It's like a different reality. It's like you have to create this, like, you have to like numb your reality to protect yourself. Um, I don't know. I kind of feel like that's what I call disassociation, but I don't know what real disassociation, like the term is. But it's just how I view it. It's like in order to cope with what you've gone through and to have it not like eat you alive and for you to function, you kind of tell yourself like it's not that bad. You kind of ignore it, you kind of numb it, and then you begin to like through that you live in like almost a different reality. And what I'm witnessing are my realities that I created to protect myself are destroying themselves. So it's like I'm coming to the point where each time in my journey, it's like I'm coming to this new reality that needs to be cleared. So it was this reality I lived with and I believed. And now in my journey, it's like, okay, we're going to address this now. Like, we're going to take off your blindfold and show you the real reality. And when that happens, it's very painful and also very insightful, and you do grow. But the part to me that's crazy and why it's so painful, and honestly, to me, it's also fascinating on how our bodies work and how our brains like do this. Like, I don't even know like how our minds and how everything works, to do all this. So it's like you're living in this state of almost like an amnesia to protect yourself, to make you believe it's not that bad. You begin to see and believe things that you wouldn't. It's so hard for me to explain it. But yeah, it's like it's like you get it's like your glasses are taken off. It's like if your glasses were a filter and all you could see was this one view, and say your glasses were the protection, like that was your disassociation or whatever it's called, that you're protecting yourself. So you put on your glasses to protect yourself. Then suddenly your glasses are taken off and everything looks completely different. Like they're like these tinted lens glasses. And maybe they're like make everything look black and white or some other form of misconception. And you take off your glasses and all of a sudden you see this whole different reality. And what's crazy is when you're wearing those glasses, that is your reality. That is truth. That is what you believe. That is what you feel. That is everything. Then suddenly, when you take off those glasses, you're like stunned with this entirely new reality. And why it's so painful is because then suddenly, in those new glasses, in this new reality, like when your glasses are removed and you're seeing this for the first time, suddenly you look back on all that you knew when you were wearing your glasses, all that you experienced and you realized it was just a filter, and you realized that all of this was here all along, and you see everything that you went through, how wrong that was. And the crazy part is you have to like relive it. I don't know how to explain it because it's like suddenly your reality shifts, but it's not just this aha moment. Now I understand. It's different. It's like now I actually have to face everything that I have been ignoring. Your glasses don't go on and all of a sudden you just are smarter for your future, or like I shouldn't say your glasses come off. I should say your glasses come off, like your filtered glasses come off, and now you just have a like smarter you for the future. No, like those glasses come off and then you see the real life of what happened. And when that happens, you feel the pain for the first time, like as if it's the first time. Because when you were wearing those glasses, it wasn't real to you. It's protecting yourself. Like when you're wearing those glasses, you didn't get to see everything. You didn't get to see the pain. You didn't get to see how bad it was. You didn't see that you were the victim. You didn't see any of it. You just think it's normal. This is just normal life. You don't know any different. You can rationalize what's happening. And then all of a sudden when those come off, it's like, yeah, you see the reality. And with that comes the pain. And the weirdest part of it all is this could have happened to you years ago. This could have been your whole life until now. I mean, this reality was like all you knew, and there's so much that happened inside of that reality. And so here you are, 30 years later, a lot's happened. There was a lot of pain that accumulated while you were wearing those glasses. And now I have to process them. So it's like you're processing 30 years worth of pain now, like as if it's happening now. And it's so weird. It's something I never understood before. I never got. And until I went through it myself, I couldn't comprehend this. I didn't know what to expect. But this is the only way I can explain what I'm going through. And that's why there's sudden like changes and shifts in a person, is because it is sometimes literally as if someone takes their glasses off. Like sometimes it's that abrupt. Like you have this grand like aha moment that just shatters this false reality that you had. And then it's suddenly just gone, and it's just all floods in. Like everything you've been realizing just floods you. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. And so when you're witnessing from a person on the outside, witnessing someone who's going through these moments of healing and change, it can look so abrupt because it is abrupt. But also it's like they can like change overnight, because all of a sudden it's like they see all of it and they can't take it back, and it's like They want to, hmm, yeah, I don't know the best way how I want to explain this. I'm like currently going through all this. So that's why I want to talk about it, but it's also hard for me to process all this out loud. But this channel is also for myself on like processing because I'm a person where I learn when I talk out loud. I think the part that is the most difficult going through this process for the person going through it is that you suddenly feel everything you've ignored as if it's happening right now. It doesn't matter if it happened 20, 30 years ago. You're feeling it happening now. It is very difficult and hard to try to explain that to someone because all of a sudden they see this person who yesterday was totally fine and excited and happy for life. And then the next day they're like completely down in the dumps, completely acting different, just changing dramatically. And they're like, what the heck is wrong with you? You know? But what's happening is they don't know that their entire world and the inside is being flipped upside down. And now, for the first time, they have to face the real reality. And that real reality is painful. And they have to now face everything that they buried, everything that they were hiding while wearing those sunglasses is now coming up. And when it comes up, it feels like you're seeing it for the first time. We're really good at protecting ourselves. We're really good at pretending nothing is wrong. We're really good at numbing and blocking pain. So when it's all coming up, it feels like it's happening now. You're processing it now for the first time. It makes you feel very vulnerable, very exposed. So the only way I can try to explain this process is like if someone were to get, say, mugged on the street, people would expect them to be upset, to be having a hard time, to need time to recoup. You know, it's like when something dramatic happens, you watch those TV shows and like, so yeah, someone could just be jumped in a parking lot and they do all kinds of bad things to them. You expect them to be living in fear. You expect them to be on guard. You expect them to be looking around, kind of paranoid, worried what's going to happen to them next. Like you would expect them to really be struggling, and it would take them time to recoup. They're going to be sad. They're going to be mad. They're going to need therapy. They're going to need help and supporting and love. They're going to need maybe time off of work. They're going to need all this help, right? Well, when This is something that's happened in the past, and you are now processing it. It feels the same way on the inside. So when you begin to wake up and process what actually happened, all of those things you blocked years and years ago come flooding in. And even though that was however many years ago, it feels like it's happening right now. So you feel that same fear. You need that same support. You feel vulnerable. You feel afraid. You feel confused. You feel abandoned and neglected. And, you can have that sense of insecurity of wondering who's going to get you, what's this person thinking, etc. Like it's just this, you have the exact same reaction as if you were just attacked the day before. Like it feels the same on the inside. But the difference is the person who was attacked yesterday is going to have the understanding and acceptance and the support from everyone they love around them. It's justified that they need time to recoup and heal. It's justified on how they feel. They're not crazy. They're not judged. They're loved. They have empathy given to them. And they are supported in what they need to recover. Whereas when it's something that you're processing now that you blocked out a long time ago, it's happening. Your body doesn't care when this is happening, what's going on in your life. It can be in the middle of, when you're having a marriage. It can be in the middle of having kids. It can be middle of like you just starting your dream job. It can be in the middle of anything. It doesn't matter. And so suddenly you're going through all this stuff in the inside, but on the outside, no one has any idea. And then not only do they not understand and they don't know how to help you cope, they even might go as to the opposite side of things where they think you're crazy. They think that you're emotional, you're being reckless, you don't know what you're talking about, you're being paranoid, you're like all these things. Cuz on the outside to them, it's like, what do you mean? Nothing happened. You're fine. That was 20 years ago. Like you're fine right now. But they're not fine. Inside of them right now, it feels like all of that is happening for the first time because they literally blocked all of that feeling from coming to them. And so once it finally is released and they feel it all, it's real right now, as if it's happening now. You feel it for the first time, just as if it happened yesterday. And so not only are you lacking that empathy and support and structure and oh my gosh, like people reaching out to you, like I heard you were just attacked and like, how can I help you? Now instead you're getting the opposite where it's just like, what's wrong with you? Why are you acting this way? Why are you acting weird? It can affect your marriage. All of a sudden one of the partners are just closed down and are acting different or looks like they're depressed or whatever. And then the other partner is like, what's going on? Why are you acting weird? What's happening? Like, is something wrong? Like, and then they can even start taking it to an extreme. Like they don't love me anymore. They're cheating on me. Like all these kind of things can start running through the other partner's head on trying to understand for themselves, like, oh, why is this person, like, why is my spouse all of a sudden just acting super weird? Why are they all of a sudden like need a bunch of time alone? Why are they like acting sad and depressed? Why blah 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 blah? What's with the secrets? Because sometimes it's like when you're processing all this stuff, it feels wrong in the sense of like you feel like you shouldn't be feeling this way. Like you tell yourself, that was how many years ago? I should be over this. Why do I feel this way? You feel ashamed. You feel embarrassed. You feel alone. You feel isolated. And so you keep a lot of it to yourself. And so a lot of times it looks like you're trying to cover how you really feel. But eventually, like, you can't keep up with it anymore. You can't keep up with the fake smiles. You can't keep up with intimacy or keeping up with your friends or caring about things you used to care about, because in the inside, you are falling apart, feeling all these things that you have never felt before. And so you're ashamed of that. You're confused by it. You're like, why do I feel this way? This isn't normal. I have problems. And the partner can't really see that. So like it's this, and this is where if you are in a relationship, like full blown radical honesty is the best thing you can do. But it's going to feel really uncomfortable, especially if you haven't talked to your spouse about this stuff before. But this is your time. This is your time to talk about it. And if it's not a spouse, if you don't feel safe with a spouse or you don't have a spouse, to find someone you can talk to, someone you can connect to, getting a therapist, getting help. Because it is a very hard thing to process and it doesn't make sense. Like looking from afar after the fact, yes, it makes sense. Like, oh yeah, obviously I had to go through all these things. I blocked it. I never felt this before. But in the moment, to you, it's like, why do I feel this way? Everyone's around you. Why are they acting this way? And it can build this divide in relationships, whether it's friendships or, marriages or other kinds of relationships, because the people in your life don't understand why you're pulling away from them, why you are isolating from them, why are you having like all of a sudden you're changing so much. And so they can take it personally. It must be them that you want to be away from. They don't understand that it's out of pain and the needing for time to heal and to process through what you're going through. And so they take it personally. They think, oh, I'm not good enough for them anymore. They don't love me anymore. They don't want to be around me anymore. They don't want to spend time with me anymore. When the reality is they need you now more than they ever have in their entire life. And they don't have the energy to just explain what's going on. It's, imagine that suddenly you're just dumped with the emotions and pains of stuff you have been suppressing for years. And instead of feeling it one day at a time, like you do in a lifetime, you have one event, you process it, you go through it, that was painful, you move on. Then you have another event, that was painful, you process it, you move on. Well, when you are suppressing that stuff and you don't want to feel it, it doesn't go anywhere. It's still there waiting for you for one day for you to feel it. But when you decide, I'm going to put this under my rug right now, I'm not going to look at this. This is too painful. Like, I'm just going to pretend this didn't happen. All of a sudden, when that rug gets lifted up and you see it all come flooding out, like that pain is there. And now, not only are you just processing that one time, one event at a time, you're processing years worth at once. So it can be extremely excruciating. It can flip your whole life upside down in the sense of it makes you realize like everything you thought you knew could be twisted, can be corrupted. When you start to realize, like, I was being manipulated, I was being controlled, I was being shamed, I was being XYZ, whatever it is, your personal struggles, whatever that's pain and had um their form of hurting you, whatever that was, suddenly you wake up to the realization that that's the reality. And now it's like, well, that's all I knew. Is what everything I knew like a lie? You find out that this person is manipulating you and lying to you and whatever. It's like you have to really like your whole life flips upside down. Like, is my life a lie? Is my life a manipulation? What's real? Like, you have to start flipping through what's real and not real. You have to like everything about you can flip upside down. And what I'm realizing is like I have gone through this process before, and um it was a very dark, painful process. And I was coming out of that process, and I learned a lot. But then suddenly it's happening again. But this time in a different layer, a different situation in my life. But it's still the same process. It's still that sudden, like, your glasses are taken off and you can see reality for what it is, and now you got to feel it all. And that's just what I'm realizing is it happens in layers. It's like sometimes too, you have to learn something from your first experience of like going through this. So, like, the first time this happened to me, I learned a ton. I learned a lot about myself. I learned about why I have the struggles I have. I learned about why I'm living the way I do. I learned a ton. But now I can take all that growth and everything that I learned and apply it to the next level. So now as I'm going through this experience currently, um in some ways it's more painful, in some ways it's less painful than the first experience I went through. It's a different part of my life. But what I can do is I'm taking everything that I learned from the first time I went through this, and now I'm applying it to my current situation. And so I want to encourage those who are listening to this who have been through this process and who knows what I'm talking about and can relate to this. And I want to encourage you that if you find you're in this situation again, I want you to know you are strong, you are brave, and you got this. We are going through this together. It is not because you didn't learn. It is not because that first time you went through this, it was for nothing. It's not because your life is never going to get better. It is only because we have to break it up in layers. You don't want to go through all of it at once. There is a reason for your healing journey going the way it's going. And you have to just trust and have faith in your own journey, that there's a reason for you realizing what you do, or what you realize when you do. There's a reason for when it happens. There's a reason that it's not all at once. There's a reason why you have this break, this grace period of enjoyment and fulfillingness, and then you might have to go through it again. But I want you to know with each and every time you are going through this, you are getting stronger. It is getting better. It is a lot of work. It is a lot of time. What we are going through is not easy, but it is so worth it. And I want you to know that not a single moment is wasted. That every single time we have a reawakening, every single time we have a new layer that's exposed, no matter how painful, it is getting better each and every time. And so I just want you to know that you are not alone in this. You are not broken. You're not unhealable. You are strong. And this is normal. And this is a process that we have to go through. And if you resist this, you're just prolonging it. This is something I'm starting to feel passionate about, is like, I feel like we live in a society where we don't want discomfort. We want to feel like everything's put together. We want to feel like we live in this bliss, and anytime we have this discomfort, anytime these hardships are coming up, these flashes are coming up, these realizations, and it's hard and it's painful, we don't like that feeling of pain. We don't like the feeling of hardship. And so our first instinct is to ignore it, is to run away from it, is to push it aside, is to pretend it's not happening, it's to minimize it. What I'm telling you is that is only harming you more. The only way you can and will get through this is if you fully embrace it and go through it. And that is what I'm learning with myself. This time was different for me. And a huge reason why this time is different for me and why I feel like this layer is going more smooth than the first time I went through this is because I took what I learned. I learned that I have to feel the feels. I have to let it out. I have to process through it. And also have support and help in that process, so it's not alone, so it doesn't consume you, so it doesn't go down this vicious cycle of you're completely lost and consumed in it. So what I learned and I'm applying to this one is I'm practicing that radical honesty that I mentioned. And I've been telling my husband kind of what I'm going through. I don't have to say the details. You get to pick and choose how much you say what and when. There is everyone has their own right amounts, and everyone has their own certain people that they talk to about certain things. But I wanted to practice radical honesty with my husband. And instead of isolating, instead of hiding, instead of crying alone and not telling him and him wondering what the heck is wrong with me, instead I'm just trying to be open and honest. And I feel like I have been trying to be honest throughout my process. But when I first started this process, it was hard for me to be fully real with him. And I'm sure that I hurt him in return because he probably took some of it personally on my struggles and why I was isolating and whatnot. So this time, I'm telling him. And I'm so glad that I did. I can't believe it. The first time this started coming up, it was this aha moment. And within a couple of days, all this stuff is unraveling. Your head starts spinning 100 miles an hour. You're trying to process through this, okay, this was the reality. I was wearing glasses. What is this? And your brain has to go through and process all of it. And you have to go through the stages of grief, right? So, and I can't remember all the stages off the top of my head, but You can have that like what's the term? Like where you don't want to believe it. Denial? Yeah. Like the denial. So like the glasses can first come off, you're kind of like denial, right? Like, no, are you I don't know. I don't am I being dramatic? Like maybe it wasn't that bad or was it that bad? And it's like, "Oh, maybe it was that bad." And then you're like, "What is this?" You're trying to figure it out. And so you're trying to battle with that denial. Like you want to tell yourself, well, maybe I'm making this up. Maybe I'm being dramatic. Maybe. Well, then as you can no longer fight that denial, you're like, actually, this is reality and this is true. Then all of a sudden you kind of start going through that like sadness. And then suddenly you're kind of mixed in with that like anger of like, how could they do that to me? And you feel so violated and you feel so taken advantage of and hurt. And then that's like, and then like you feel sad. And it's like this mix of like, you feel sad and you feel angry and you feel all these things are just like coming out of you. And as I was going through those phases and I'm coming out of the denial and I'm kind of like going into the sadness and anger. And I just straight up told my husband, I was like, you know what? I realized XYZ. I'm really struggling with this. And I remember like I was kind of pushing off, I was kind of ignoring it. I hinted it to him a little bit, but I didn't really tell him like how much it was affecting me. And then he asked me to help with the project. I went to go help him and I just start crying, just crying. And because I already have been kind of through my process over the last year or so, dropping little breadcrumbs for him, kind of explaining these things a little bit by little bit. I've been being more vulnerable with my husband and kind of explaining my process, why I'm going through what I'm going through, telling him it is not personal, that I love him. The biggest thing I realized and I shared to him is I would not be able to go through this process if I didn't have him. So like I had to be safe in my marriage to go through this. Like if I would have been in an abusive marriage, I would have been in survival mode still. Like the only reason I can process what I'm going through is because I'm in a safe and secure marriage. Because I have that love and support. Because I'm safe. You can only start to heal when you are in a safe environment. So, if you are not, you have to be. That is your first step before anything else is change your current environment. If you are in an abusive relationship, you need to start planning on safely exiting that environment. That's a whole nother talk. But that's like, yeah, a whole entire conversation. So being honest with your friends, with your spouse, whoever your support system is, and just saying like, hey, I can go through this because I feel safe. You make me feel safe. And I want you to know that this isn't personal. This isn't from you. I'm going to be going through all these emotions and it's not you. And I need you. And you can help me by doing X, Y, and Z. And let them know some things that they can do to help you. Because they want to help you. They do. They just don't know what you need and they don't know unless you tell them. So that is your job. You have to tell your support people how they can help you. And as I've been able to drop little breadcrumbs and be honest with my husband throughout this process, now I came into this point where I'm going through this process again, kind of in a different way, but nonetheless, it's happening again. And now he's more prepared. And now when I started crying, he didn't think I'm weird. He didn't think like, what the heck's wrong with you? He's like, like, why are you crying? Like you were just fine. Nothing happened. You've been at home, Instead of like judging me, being concerned, questioning, he just put his arms around me and he just held me and he just let me cry. And then he was just able to be there for me and allowed me to say whatever I needed to say. And he just said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that you're going through this, you know? And then, and like that's all I really needed. A lot of times that's all we need. People worry about like, what am I gonna say? Am I gonna have the right thing? How am I gonna help them fix what they're going through? Your job isn't to help us fix it. We have to go through the process. Only we can heal ourselves. Your job is to just be there, just listen, just love, just support, just understand, just to not judge whatever this process looks like, and to just be love, and to just hold us when we need to be held, and to just listen when you need to someone to listen, and just be there so we're not alone. And yeah, so I was going through this, and it's a weekend, he wants to go do fun things for the weekend. And he asked, later, he's just like, hey, do you want to go fishing? Do you want to go do this? And I just said, actually, like, no. And it was really hard for me to say that. I felt awful at first. Honestly, I felt guilty. Like, I know I have been working a lot, so I haven't been able to go fishing with them. I haven't seen them as much. Um, and it was really hard for me to say no. I don't have good boundaries. I'm working on that. It is a process, let me tell you that. But I'm starting to build them. And the problem with me and boundaries is it's not even like I have to have boundaries in the sense of like protect myself from something. Like my husband has his best intentions for me. My biggest problem is boundaries with myself. It's knowing when to say no when I need to say no. Because only I know what I need. Only I know what I can and can't do. And instead of listening to myself, I just did whatever I thought would be the best answer for someone else, not myself. So that's what boundaries are beginning to look like for me, is how can I help me right now in this healing journey? And sometimes that means saying no to something because you just can't do that right now. And to just be okay with it. And so he's like, yeah, let's go fishing. It'll be fun. And I thought like, oh, okay. Yeah, I was thinking like in my head, like, yeah, I should go fishing. I haven't for a while. He would really appreciate that. The kids would really like that if I came. I haven't seen them. I've been working this week, but I just came off of working a bunch of shifts. I was exhausted. I was drained. All this emotional stuff has been flooding onto me. I feel like my whole life is getting ripped upside down once again as I'm processing through this new layer, a new chapter in my healing journey. I just felt so overwhelmed. I felt like that, like anxiousness of like, I just need to be away. I need to get away from people. It's like when I personally am processing something, I need more downtime. I need to be away from things because the chaos of everyday life is too much. Like when I'm processing through something, I need like calm, I need soothing, I need time alone, I need to reflect, I need to cry if I want to cry. And like you don't want to cry when you want to cry in front of your husband and your kids and stuff. So it's like sometimes you just need that time alone to process through what you need to do. If you're angry, like sometimes you be alone and just like scream in your pillow, scream at something, um, whatever, throw up your arms. Sometimes it's like dancing to release stuff. Sometimes it's crying. Sometimes it's exercise. Sometimes it's a walk. Sometimes it's just sitting outside and looking at the sun, or like letting the sun on your face, I should say, more so than looking at it, but just feeling it on you. So everyone has their own ways. But anyway, what I was getting with this is when he asked me to go, even though I had a really hard time saying no, I said no. And because I was able to be open and honest and vulnerable with him in the past, and I was able to spread my little breadcrumbs of my journey to him, I was able to tell him no, but tell him that, but I want him to have fun. I want him and the girls to go and I want to have fun. I don't want to keep him here with me being sad with me. I want him to move on with his life too and go have fun. But instead of me just running to the next thing and not processing and not having downtime and not doing what I need to do, whatever that looks like, sometimes it looks like just laying on the couch as the heated blanket for like a whole day. Sometimes it looks like crying. Sometimes it looks like journaling. Sometimes it looks like writing. Sometimes it looks like me making a video. Every day it's going to be different. And I just needed that time. I just needed me to have my time of processing and reflecting and quietness and calmness and stillness. And yet at the same time, I want him to go and have fun. And so that's also a thing for those who are watching this in hopes to help a partner or someone else in their life. It is important to be there, but it's also equally important for you to stay healthy as well. It can be easy to be caught up in your partner's emotions when they're going through such big emotions and events in their life and they're processing through all this. So there's a lot of dynamics to it, and that's why I'm making this entire YouTube channel, because there are so many steps and processes through this and so many different layers. And I have like the list of things I want to talk about is so long and like everything is endless. I could just talk forever. But yes, so there are so much to this and it can get kind of complicated and there's many layers. But what's very important as a person caring for someone in this process is let them be whatever they need to be and do. Support them, love them, don't judge them, hold them. It's okay to ask questions, but be careful on how you ask them. Make sure you're not coming from a place of judgment, but rather concern, and rather like empathy. You can ask a question using almost the same words, but it feeling completely different. It can feel like love and it can feel like judgment and shame. So when people are in this state of healing, they're extra um, sensitive to their environment and to people that they love, especially. So be very aware of that. This is your time to be very gentle, very soft, very understanding. And while you are being this person for them, and while you're supporting them in the way that they need to be supported, you need to also take care of yourself. It can be a dark time sometimes as someone's going through this healing journey. And it's important that you don't get drugged into that darkness with them. You want to step into that darkness in the sense of holding them while they are there. You don't want to be totally away from it and afraid of it and stay away from them and isolate from them and make them feel alone. That's going to make it way worse. So you need to be comfortable enough with the darkness to hold them in that darkness. But then you also have to be able to step out of that darkness and back into the light and into that not heaviness, and be able to live your life and be healthy. Because if you get pulled into it and all of a sudden it's affecting you, you no longer can be that healthy light that they need. And so it's this relationship of give and take and of sharing. And it's like, you step into that darkness with them, but then there's times you also have to pull them out with you. And so, like I said, it gets to be a little bit more complex and layered and lots of things to it. But it's very, very, very important that as your partner or friend is going through this process, that you remain strong, that you take care of yourself, that you do what you need to do so that you can continue to be a strong support and light in their life, so that you can help them in this journey. So I'm just about out of time. I want to kind of try to keep these to an hour max because I sometimes can go on my tangents and talk way too much. So I think I'm going to end it here. But yeah, I guess the last thing I just want to say is that if you are going through this journey, this healing right now, if what I'm saying in this video resonates with you, if you know what I'm talking about, I just want you to know that I love you. I'm so proud of you and that you are so strong and you got this. You are not doing this alone. There's so many people out there in this world that are going through this process with you. And it's people that are strong, just like you, that are brave enough to go through this process, that are healing and changing this world. So do not take your journey lightly. This is not nothing. This is everything. And it is a lot of work and it is really hard. I see you. I love you. And I'll see you again. Take care. All right. I have to ask for one favor. If you are enjoying what I'm sharing in these videos, I ask you to please subscribe to my channel and like my video. Doing this will ensure that this video can get out to help more people just like you. Thank you so much for following me in my journey on Honestly Nat. I look forward to having the next video with you. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day.